Effective communication is as much about what you say as it is about how you say it, and body language is key to that process. Here to shed light on the non-verbal signals to gaining the upper hand in any situation, former Labour speechwriter Simon Lancaster. First, let's talk about authenticity. Why do so many fail at reflecting this?
Authenticity is a fabulous word to be using, because everything these days, it has to be authentic, doesn't it? You get authentic Vietnamese food, authentic denim, the authentic sound of rock and roll, and likewise now every leader going through a business school is told you need to be authentic. And here's where the distinction I think comes between authenticity and honesty. So you have people like Bill Clinton, when Bill Clinton did his famous, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, and body language experts have pored over that video and they've sworn he's telling the truth. And yet we know he wasn't. And so how did he do that? And what I think it is that in order to convince others, first you must convince yourself. And so this is what really great leaders do. When great leaders are saying something and they're spinning, they're saying something that they know deep down is not true, people just have an incredible nose for it, and the audience will sniff it out like that.
Boris Johnson, of course, he is sort of a self-styled buffoon, as some would dub him, right? So, of course, his authenticity comes from being this guy who's not perfectly put together. How do you advise people to create their own version of the Boris Johnson effect?
With Boris, it's the illusion of authenticity, which is contrived, so that when he's speaking, he doesn't seem to care much what people are thinking in the audience. And this means that when he's saying things, he really is speaking from the heart. He's saying things that he really, really believes. And so as a result, his hand movements are in the right kind of place, his body language, his expression, all of these things are exactly what people would expect them to be. And this means that when we're seeing him, we think, yeah, you're right, you stack up, you're authentic, you're a real person. And being a real person means you're not perfect. What human being in the world is perfect? We believe in people when we perceive them to be flawed.
But let's look at female executives. Why are they sometimes so wooden and not able to be authentic when they are put in the same arenas as men?
Women suffer a historic disadvantage, that when you're a man, you can very easily think, I'm going to act Churchillian,
right.
I'm going to act like Roosevelt, I'm going to go Kennedy. And of course, for women, the problem is that simply if you look back through the sweep of history, you've got very few examples to actually choose from. You can't borrow other leaders' clothes. And so a number of women that I've spoken to about this, they accept they've actually tried to be more like men. And this was when I first started working in speechwriting in the 90s. You saw this with women who would be deliberately trying to make themselves taller with high heels, and they'd have shoulder pads and they'd be lowering their voice and basically doing everything they can to imitate a man. Thank God, over the last few years, since the crash, I think you've seen a change, so that now there is a rush of women who are heading to the top in business, in politics, in public affairs. And so you look at people like Sheryl Sandberg, obviously, is massively influential in the business community. You look in politics, Merkel is running Europe. Hillary Clinton is odds-on favourite to be the next president of the United States. Here in the UK, the head of the CBI and the TUC, for the first time ever in history, are women. And so I think women now are carving out a new kind of iconic model of what it means to be a leader. And you know what? I think it's really different to the model that men had. I think whereas men were combative, women are naturally more consensual. And I write about this in the books. Not all, of course, you have exceptions on either side. You can get some very combative women, just so you can get some very conciliatory men. But women biologically are more inclined in response to stress, not to respond with fight or flight, but instead to go with a tend and befriend.
When we think about conciliatory approaches, for a woman who needs to step into that public space and may suffer from, frankly, imposter syndrome, right? What can they be thinking about when they are the ones that have to answer the hard questions?
I would say to them that in the first place, just imagine that the audience is on your side. Do not imagine that the audience is there coming to get you. When you say things that you know the audience is going to respond well to, you'll feel the energy come into you from the audience. And so starting from some points of universal agreement, just making some value statements, things that everyone in the audience will agree to, giving a bit of yourself, telling some stories, these are all things that will work very, very well.